Meg Ryan wasn't just a name in Hollywood. She was an era. From the moment she appeared on the silver screen in the late 1980s and 1990s, her smile lit up theaters and television sets alike. That infectious grin, framed by her unmistakable dimples, made her the ultimate girl next door. Audiences didn't just watch her movies. They felt her joy, her vulnerability, and her warmth. Films like When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail didn't just succeed. They defined romantic comedies for an entire generation. People didn't just fall for her characters. They fell for Meg Ryan herself. Her face was a study in charm and relatability. It had that rare combination of innocence and charisma, the kind that made fans pause mid-scene, enchanted by the sparkle in her eyes. Hollywood loves iconic looks, but few have left as deep an imprint as Meg's. Her expressions could communicate 1,000 emotions without a single word. A raised eyebrow, a shy smile, a flicker of laughter. Every detail, from the gentle curve of her lips to the twinkle in her eyes, became a cultural reference. She wasn't just acting. She was shaping a generation's idea of romantic fantasy. Yet, as unforgettable as her smile was, it became a double-edged sword. That very face, so celebrated and adored, created expectations that would shadow her for decades. Fans wanted the Meg Ryan they fell in love with frozen in time, a smiling icon untouched by age or stress. Hollywood, meanwhile, had its own agenda. The pressure to maintain a forever young look for the cameras, interviews, and red carpet appearances was relentless. In a city obsessed with beauty and youth, every detail of an actor's face becomes public property. No expression, no wrinkle, no change goes unnoticed. Even in her early career, Meg's look was scrutinized. Magazines dissected her appearances, TV shows commented on her style, and tabloids hinted at changes before they were even visible. But for those first audiences, the magic was simple. Meg Ryan's face represented authenticity, relatability, and hope. She made viewers believe in the possibility of love, laughter, and happily ever afters. It was this combination of charm and accessibility that created the legendary status of her smile. Today, when people look back at her iconic movies, there's a bittersweet nostalgia attached. That face captured a generation's imagination, yet it also set the stage for the intense scrutiny that would follow. Every change, real or rumored, is measured against the memory of that golden era. The Meg Ryan whose smile could light up a theater and whose presence made hearts race. And it's that very contrast between the past and present that makes her transformation such a fascinating story. One that leaves fans, both old and new, doing a double take. At first, it was almost imperceptible. A line here, a shadow there, tiny shifts that most would dismiss as natural aging. But Meg Ryan's face was so deeply ingrained in public memory that even the slightest difference became magnified under the spotlight. Fans began noticing changes in her eyes, her cheeks, and especially that trademark smile. Something about her expressions seemed different. It wasn't drastic, at least not at first, but it was enough to spark curiosity and a wave of whispers online. Social media, still in its early days, became the arena where fans debated. Side-by-side photos from different years circulated, showing her beloved smile alongside more recent appearances. The differences were subtle. Smoother skin in some areas, a slightly lifted brow, fuller lips. Nothing catastrophic, nothing shocking, at least not yet. But it was enough to make people pause and ask themselves, is this the same Meg Ryan we grew up loving? That question, once innocent, quickly spiraled into obsession. It wasn't just fans who noticed. Talk shows, entertainment blogs, and even casual moviegoers began commenting on the changes. Headlines like, Meg Ryan's different look leaves fans stunned, and has Meg Ryan had work done? Became increasingly common. Every public appearance, whether a red carpet event or a talk show interview, was dissected for clues. The scrutiny intensified with each new photo, each angle, each lighting change, amplifying the mystery surrounding her transformation. What made it particularly intriguing was the contrast between her timeless charisma and the subtle alterations. Her smile, once effortlessly playful and spontaneous, appeared slightly altered in some frames. The lines that used to animate her expressions were softer, reshaped, or seemingly erased. Her cheeks, once naturally rounded and expressive, seemed fuller in certain images, hinting at cosmetic interventions that were never officially confirmed. Fans debated endlessly, was it makeup, lighting, or a more permanent change? Even her performances began to feel different to those paying close attention. While Meg Ryan still exuded charm and warmth, some longtime viewers noted that her expressions seemed slightly more controlled, less spontaneous. The magic that once felt effortless now carried a hint of mystery, a subtle tension between past and present. And that tension fueled speculation, making the story of her transformation far more compelling than any tabloid rumor could achieve alone. The fascination wasn't merely about aesthetics. It was about memory, nostalgia, and the uncanny feeling of seeing someone you know so well slowly change before your eyes. For fans, Meg Ryan's face wasn't just a look. It was a symbol of a time, of movies that defined their youth, of moments of laughter, romance, and heartwarming storytelling. Every subtle change felt personal, as if the viewer themselves had aged alongside her, witnessing the complex reality behind the Hollywood illusion. By the time the whispers turned into widespread conversation, the world had realized one undeniable truth. Meg Ryan's face transformation wasn't just cosmetic. It was a story, a puzzle, and a mystery that demanded attention. And as curious eyes focused on her, the questions only grew louder. What exactly had changed? Why now? And most importantly, how would she respond to the growing scrutiny that had become impossible to ignore? Once the subtle changes became obvious, the speculation exploded. Hollywood insiders, gossip columns, and social media users alike jumped in, offering theories ranging from Botox and fillers to full-on plastic surgery. Every photo was analyzed with surgical precision. A slightly higher brow here, a plumper cheek there, lips that seemed different under certain lights. The narrative quickly shifted from casual observation to scandal, as though the mere act of change in a beloved celebrity was a story in itself. Tabloids had a field day. Headlines screamed, "Meg Ryan's shocking transformation. What happened to her face?" And the truth behind Meg Ryan's new look revealed. Paparazzi photos, some candid, some carefully staged, fueled endless debate. Fans dissected every smile, every angle, every expression, often drawing wildly different conclusions. Was it age, cosmetic intervention, or something more mysterious? Hollywood thrives on the unknown, and Meg Ryan had become a perfect puzzle, a celebrity whose past image clashed intriguingly with her present one. The speculation wasn't limited to her face. Interviews hinted at her discomfort with aging in the spotlight. Friends and co-stars occasionally mentioned her desire to maintain privacy, to retreat from relentless public scrutiny. Yet, that privacy only seemed to amplify curiosity. When a celebrity steps back, the world leans in. Rumors spread that she had undergone multiple procedures over the years, but there was never any confirmation, leaving the narrative suspended between fact and fiction. And in Hollywood, that gray area is fertile ground for legend. Some critics argued that the scrutiny itself was part of a larger problem: society's obsession with youth and beauty. Meg Ryan, once celebrated for her natural charm and relatable persona, now faced judgment for daring to evolve physically. Every wrinkle, every facial shift became a point of discussion, a critique of something completely human. Social media debates became cultural touchpoints, exposing the harsh reality of celebrity life. In Hollywood, even a natural change can spark scandal. Meanwhile, the curiosity factor intensified because Meg Ryan herself remained largely silent. Unlike other stars who embrace or debunk rumors publicly, she chose discretion. That silence only fueled speculation, transforming a personal choice into a public mystery. Experts in cosmetic procedures, dermatology, and plastic surgery weighed in, sometimes contradicting each other, leaving fans more intrigued than ever. Every theory, from minor injections to more invasive surgeries, was debated as though uncovering the truth were a mission. And so, Meg Ryan's transformation became more than a cosmetic story. It became a cultural phenomenon. It was about perception, memory, and the impossible expectations placed on women in Hollywood. Fans weren't just discussing what her face looked like. They were grappling with the tension between the Meg Ryan they remembered and the woman she had become. Every whisper, every theory, every speculative headline added another layer to a mystery that seemed destined to linger. The moment images of Meg Ryan's changing appearance hit the internet, the reaction was immediate and relentless. Fans flooded forums, social media platforms, and comment sections with shock, curiosity, and sometimes harsh judgment. "Is that really her?" one commenter asked, while another lamented. "She looks nothing like the Meg Ryan we grew up with." The conversation quickly became a storm, with every new sighting dissected, debated, and shared across millions of screens. Mainstream media followed suit, amplifying the frenzy. Entertainment news outlets ran feature pieces with side-by-side comparisons, while talk shows brought in experts to discuss the possible procedures she might have undergone. Headlines didn't merely report, they provoked. Words like shocking, unrecognizable, and transformation dominated the coverage. It wasn't just about curiosity, it was about spectacle. Meg Ryan's face had become a story, a symbol of Hollywood's complex relationship with beauty, age, and celebrity culture. Fans' reactions were deeply emotional. For many, Meg Ryan's face wasn't just a physical feature. It was a portal to memory. Her smile had been a comforting presence in films that defined their youth. Seeing it altered, even slightly, triggered a strange mix of nostalgia, surprise, and unease. Some expressed sadness, others defensiveness, and a few outright anger toward a culture that punishes women for aging. Across the internet, threads discussing her new look became a strange collective experience, with millions weighing in as if they had a personal stake in her choices. Social media, in particular, turned her transformation into a viral phenomenon. Memes circulated, often humorously exaggerating changes, while fan pages debated before and after shots endlessly. Influencers and commentators dissected angles, lighting, and makeup tricks, while some tried to empathize, highlighting the immense pressure Hollywood imposes on aging actresses. The narrative evolved from simple observation to broader discussion about celebrity, beauty standards, and societal expectations. Meg Ryan wasn't just changing her appearance. She had unwittingly ignited a cultural debate. Interestingly, the media frenzy also revealed a split in public perception. Some applauded her confidence and choice, praising her for embracing herself however she wished. Others criticized the perceived unnatural changes, reflecting society's paradoxical obsession with perfection and authenticity. Interviews and profiles that once celebrated her charm and talent were now framed around her face, highlighting how a single aspect of a public figure's appearance can eclipse decades of work and achievement. The tension reached its peak when she made rare public appearances. Cameras captured every angle, every expression, and the world responded in real time. The headlines ranged from sympathetic, acknowledging her enduring beauty and talent, to sensationalist, emphasizing the shock factor of her transformation. In every reaction, one thing was clear: Meg Ryan's face was no longer just a feature, it was a phenomenon. And the story wasn't merely about change. It was about memory, expectation, and the complicated dance between a celebrity's private reality and public perception. Today, Meg Ryan stands as a figure both celebrated and scrutinized. A woman whose face has become a mirror reflecting Hollywood's obsession with youth, beauty, and reinvention. Gone are the days when her smile was simply a symbol of romantic comedies and the girl-next-door charm. Now, every public appearance carries layers of meaning, a subtle interplay between personal choice and public perception. Fans, media, and critics alike continue to dissect her appearance, but there's an undeniable aura of confidence in how she navigates this attention. Meg Ryan has never publicly confirmed the details behind her transformation, and perhaps that is the point. By choosing discretion, she controls the narrative in a uniquely powerful way. In an era where celebrity lives are overexposed and meticulously documented, her silence becomes a statement. It's a reminder that change is human, inevitable, and complex. Yet we live in a culture that demands explanations for every wrinkle, every fuller cheek, every altered expression. This ongoing mystery fuels fascination, keeping audiences engaged and conversations alive, proving that her relevance extends far beyond the films she made famous. Her transformation, real or perceived, also highlights a broader dialogue about aging in Hollywood. Meg Ryan's journey challenges the industry's rigid beauty standards and encourages a more nuanced understanding of self-presentation. While society often frames cosmetic choices as controversial, her story reminds us that personal agency, self-expression, and comfort in one's own skin are just as vital as public approval. She may no longer be the youthful ingenue of the 1990s, but she remains undeniably magnetic, commanding attention in a world obsessed with appearances. Fans have gradually come to accept and even admire the evolution. Those who once struggled with the stark contrast between past and present now appreciate the resilience it represents. Meg Ryan is no longer just a memory of a perfect smile. She is a living, evolving woman whose choices, whether cosmetic or otherwise, are hers alone. This perspective shift adds depth to her legacy, reminding the public that icons can change without losing their essence. Her charisma, talent, and influence remain intact, even if the lines on her face tell a different story than the one we remember. Ultimately, Meg Ryan's face transformation is more than a Hollywood headline. It is a cultural moment, a reflection of fame, beauty, and the tension between public expectation and private reality. It leaves fans with a dual sense of nostalgia and curiosity, a longing for the past coupled with fascination for the present. Her journey encourages empathy, dialogue, and reflection, illustrating that change, even when visible under the harshest of lights, is neither shameful nor scandalous. It is human. And as the world continues to speculate, the mystery of Meg Ryan's transformation endures, captivating audiences and proving that even decades into her career, she can still make us do a double take. Meg Ryan's face transformation isn't just a story about cosmetic change. It's a narrative that intertwines memory, culture, and the relentless scrutiny of fame. For decades, she was more than an actress. She was a symbol of an era, the embodiment of warmth, humor, and romance on screen. Her smile lit up theaters, television screens, and hearts around the world, creating an indelible image that millions associated with joy, hope, and the innocence of young love. That image, frozen in time by movies like When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail, became a cultural reference point, a benchmark against which all changes would inevitably be measured. When subtle shifts began to appear, changes in her eyes, cheeks, and expressions, they immediately captured attention. It wasn't drastic, but in a world where celebrities' appearances are constantly monitored, even minor differences become magnified. These changes, small as they may have seemed, sparked conversations that quickly escalated into obsession. Fans debated online, comparing old photos to new, while tabloids seized the opportunity to generate headlines that blurred the line between reporting and sensationalism. In a sense, Meg Ryan became a living experiment in public memory. How people cling to images of someone they've known and loved, even decades later, and how they react when those images are altered. The speculation surrounding her face, whether through cosmetic procedures, natural aging, or a combination of both, highlighted the contradictions of celebrity culture. Hollywood celebrates beauty and youth, but it also scrutinizes every attempt to preserve, enhance, or change them. In Meg Ryan's case, even silence became a statement. By not confirming or denying the rumors, she allowed the mystery to persist, challenging the public to grapple with their assumptions, biases, and expectations. Her discretion turned curiosity into fascination, proving that the power of narrative often lies not in explanation, but in suspense. The more people wondered, the more the story grew, and the more Meg Ryan's transformation became emblematic of something larger than herself. Public reaction, often a mix of shock, nostalgia, and judgment, revealed the deeply emotional nature of her transformation. Fans weren't just responding to a physical change. They were confronting their own memories of her, their attachments to the versions of her they had grown up with. Social media amplified this phenomenon, turning each appearance into a viral event, each photograph into fodder for debate, and each comment into a microcosm of society's conflicting attitudes toward age, beauty, and female celebrities. Memes, side-by-side comparisons, and speculation threads dominated online conversations, reflecting a culture simultaneously captivated and discomforted by change. Yet, behind the headlines and public fascination, there is a quieter, more profound narrative. Meg Ryan as a human being navigating the intersection of personal evolution and public expectation. Her transformation underscores the tension every celebrity faces, the balance between self-expression, natural aging, and the impossible demand to remain eternally recognizable. While some critics framed her evolution as a scandal, others interpreted it as an act of empowerment. It is a reminder that physical appearance, while visible to millions, is ultimately a private matter, shaped by personal choices, societal pressures, and the passage of time. In a world obsessed with perfection, Meg Ryan's face embodies the complexity and humanity of change. Today, Meg Ryan is no longer just the girl next door or the romantic comedy icon frozen in a moment of cinematic history. She is a living, evolving woman, unafraid to navigate life on her terms, even under the microscope of public attention. Her story challenges viewers to reflect on their own perceptions of beauty, aging, and identity. It invites empathy, urging audiences to consider the person behind the image, rather than the spectacle alone. Her transformation, whether gradual, cosmetic, or entirely natural, is an authentic journey, one that demonstrates resilience, confidence, and the courage to exist authentically in the face of endless scrutiny. Moreover, Meg Ryan's narrative sparks broader cultural reflection. It forces society to confront the unrealistic standards imposed on women in Hollywood and beyond. It reveals the ways in which memory, nostalgia, and expectation shape our reactions to change. It exposes the fragility of celebrity personas, where decades of adoration can hinge on a single expression or a subtle shift in appearance. And, perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that human beings are not static. They evolve, they adapt, and they transform regardless of public perception. Meg Ryan's story is a microcosm of this universal truth, magnified by the global gaze of fame. The mystery remains compelling because it is unresolved. We may never know the full story behind every subtle change in her face, nor should we necessarily need to. The intrigue lies in the intersection of fact and perception, reality and memory, the private self and the public persona. This tension keeps audiences captivated, continually revisiting the images, interviews, and appearances that spark debate. In that sense, Meg Ryan's transformation is not a conclusion. It is an ongoing conversation, a cultural touchstone, and a reflection of the complex, sometimes unforgiving, landscape of celebrity life. Ultimately, Meg Ryan's face transformation is a story about more than beauty. It's about legacy, identity, and the enduring power of memory. It is about the clash between who we were, who we are, and who the world expects us to be. It is about nostalgia, curiosity, and the fascination with change that defines human nature. And above all, it is about a woman whose smile once defined a generation and whose journey continues to captivate the world, leaving us all, fans, critics, and casual observers alike, doing a double take, pondering the delicate, enduring mystery of Meg Ryan herself.